Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time zone of the world you are, and welcome to QBS Global's December 2024 webinar, Quality Conversations. This episode, this webinar is the final for the year 2024. Yay! Holidays are here upon us, Christmas is here upon us, and we are glad to welcome you to this webinar. Our quality conversations started in October 2024, where we realized that we saw the need to engage with many, followers and clients. I mean, of our regular clients, and just give back to the entire healthcare professional space, and indeed quality management space, knowledge and implementation guidelines, and share our knowledge and collaborate with people, especially within the healthcare space, on quality management tools, information guidelines, implementation hacks, etc. And we started it off in October with free, not free, it's all free, with open mics, so open house conversations where everybody could ask whatever questions that they had, and we're going to just answer the questions, and thereby drilling into the most challenging areas or the biggest pain points that quality professionals and healthcare professionals are facing in the execution of their work. We've drilled into this topic for today, measuring the effectiveness of a quality management system, because it came off of one of the questions from November's webinar. And I said in that webinar, and you may go and watch the webinars, October and November's quality conversations, they're right here in our YouTube channel, in the playlist called Quality Conversations. In November's webinar, I made mention that it's going to be quite a challenge to answer the question about measuring effectiveness of a quality management system in the webinar, while answering a lot of other stuff. So I promise that we're going to move it as a standalone topic and deal with it in December. And here we are. We're grateful that we had the opportunity to be alive and be here and be able to share this knowledge with us. So let's dive right in, right? So we're talking here about, this is a vast topic. I mean, it's something you can write extensively on. You can actually do a thesis on it. But we're going to just focus on the foundational tools and concepts, and more or less give like a beginner's guide to understanding QMS metrics and monitoring them, managing them, not managing per se, but monitoring them and measuring and monitoring first off. All right, so let's dive right in. So here's an introduction. As I said, we're here to understand the basics of measuring the effectiveness of a quality management system. And I hope, let me not hope, let me not assume, but QMS means quality management system. So we're talking about, whenever I say QMS, I'm basically referring to a quality management system. And our focus is on foundational tools and practical steps to measuring the effectiveness of the quality management system that you are in. This webinar, this conversation, is most relevant for beginners in quality management systems implementation, for healthcare professionals, for laboratory managers or facility managers, and quality management professionals as a whole. Now, let's meet you. Can you share within the chats, that's what your role is in QMS implementation? We'd like to know who we're interfacing with today. So let's have it rolling. Come on, let's speak. Let's share where what and if you like, if you're open to, you can provide more information about the country you are working, the territory, the place you're working in, the organization if you like, and if you don't like, it's fine. You can protect that data. and then just share with us what your role is. So are you a laboratory manager? Are you a healthcare, are you a quality manager? Are you a compliance manager, or a healthcare professional, any other one, a clinician, a nursing manager, or a shift manager or something? Just let us know what your role is in QMS implementation. All right, while we are waiting to read that, this is just a brief about me. I have worked within the quality management space for close to about 14 years, and 18 years in the healthcare industry as a whole. I am the managing director and lead consultant of QBS Global, and I'm glad to be presenting this to us today. I have vast expertise in audits, in guiding teams into QMS implementation. And that is why we are bringing to you, from QBS Global, we're bringing to you deeper understandings and hacks and quick tips into how to go about your quality journey yourself, implementing QMS in your organization, and take it a notch higher, 2-3 notches higher, and become the organization that is a force to reckon with, and more importantly, to give to your patients and your clients the best outcomes possible. That is the focus. We want to advance quality, and this is about QBS Global. QBS Global is a thought leader in healthcare quality management, and we are passionate, very, very passionate about quality in general, and our biggest expertise and experiences in the healthcare landscape. We want to empower healthcare organizations across Africa to deliver measurable improvements in quality, in compliance, and in the operational efficiency, which of course translates into wider profit margins, but primarily to help organizations build a better, a healthier Africa. Because we know that the healthier our people are, the healthier we are, the better we're able to create a bigger, a better ecosystem for us all to operate and function in. Fantastic. So this is who we are. Come on, let's have it. Let's have your we're still reading from you. Where are you writing us, or where are you joining us from, and what is your role in QMS implementation? Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so let's go right in. What is a quality management system? When we say QMS, 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 many people actually, it's almost like a buzzword. QMS, want to implement QMS, we're doing QMS, we're having quality, we're passionate for quality, we want quality. And almost, especially in healthcare now, everybody's saying, we want quality results, we want quality this and quality that. What exactly is a quality management system? In plain, simple terms, quality management system is a framework. It's a framework. It's, you know how you first of all create in technology these days, you say you have a wireframe first. You have this framework, the main structure. You know, when you want to build skyscrapers and buildings like that, you have that framework. You have the framework for standardizing processes, for ensuring quality, and for improving outcomes. So QMS actually builds that core into around for ensuring quality and improving outcomes of any organization. It is actually a formalized system that documents your processes, that documents your procedures, documents the responsibilities for attaining quality goals and policies. Once these are documented, it is easier to ensure execution, to follow execution through. Okay, so that's basically what QMS is. QMS is a lot of creation of frameworks, creation of how of the guiding principles of how things will work, and then documenting them so that when once anybody takes that template, they can run with it and do what needs to be done. What is the purpose of QMS? Why QMS? Why QMS, especially in healthcare? To enhance patient safety. With QMS, we can improve and enhance and be assured of safety for our patients. It improves operational efficiency. It helps us to meet regulatory requirements. With QMS in place, you don't have to have your heart beat when a regulator within your system, within your ecosystem, or within your space says, oh, we need to come and check in, we need to do an annual check, you need to re-register, you need to renew your license, or whatever it is. You don't have to worry, because you already have that framework that ensures that everybody is adhering to international standards or benchmark standards, adhering to local requirements or regulations, are adhering to regional requirements or regulations, and are adhering to international requirements or regulations. So you are working with a level of confidence that cannot be gainsaid, right? So QMS is vital in just ensuring that you are doing the best that you can do with the resources that you have, and giving the best to your patients, and creating a sustainable organization that can outlive and stand the test of time, stand the test of ups and downs within economies, within global, within whatever comes, you know. With QMS in place, you are able to, it creates for you a resilient system, a resilient organization that consistently gives off the best outcomes for their clients and patients. Now, I talked about meeting international best practice or regulations and benchmarked best practices. Most of this is coming from, when talking about on international scale, it's not just international, and international is every country. So every country has what they'd rather do, right? Or what they have as regulations. But we have what we call the ISO standards. And the ISO standards, let me just do a quick recap. You have the ISO 9001. ISO standards generally are the standards brought about or put together by a cross-functional, multidisciplinary, and vastly, like, across the globe, team of professionals, experts in different subject areas, who come together, forming committees to outline standards for different standards for operation, for production, for manufacturing, for operation, across different endeavors. Name it, there's a standard for it. There's a standard for manufacturing coffee. Not one. I think there are about 24 thereabouts. Quite a number. There are standards for everything. So why things don't just drop off, and where you actually say something has more quality than another, for the most part, it's all about what standards were in place between the two products, in the manufacture and the production of the two products, of either product. So you have ISO 9001. I'm just highlighting three that pertain to healthcare right now. You have ISO 9001, which is called the mother standard, or the mother of all standards. The current is 9001 2015, and it's this standard is focused on quality management systems, talking about the requirements which are applicable across any industry, across all industries, and it's focused on process improvement. It's focused on customer satisfaction. We have ISO 15189, currently 15189 2022, and that's specifically for medical laboratories, for quality and competence in medical laboratories. It gives the standards, gives the requirements for fulfilling quality and technical competence. And then we have ISO 71001, 01, which is a new one, and it's a general healthcare facility. It covers general healthcare facility requirements. These are aligned. These bottom two are aligned to 9001, and practically every other standard. And those that have not yet been aligned are still on the way of being aligned. And that's why 9001 is called the mother of all standards. So why do ISO standards matter? They matter because they help bring consistency in service delivery. Everybody is not left to do whatever it is that they feel like doing, but they are able to do what is required to be done. They are consistent, that even if somebody else steps in, you don't have a fluctuation in the way a task is executed because the person who is executing it changes. You don't have a situation where, oh, person A was on duty and that's why XYZ metrics went this way, and person B is on duty now, and so XYZ metrics are giving off or are showing a different trend. You don't have that. You have consistency in service delivery. You say your patients come in and they know that this is the process. They don't come in and they're not confused on, when nurse B is around, I'm able to, first of all, she follows the process of taking my vitals. She asks me this 1, 2, 3 questions. Then she refers me there. Nurse B is compassionate. Nurse B is empathetic. Nurse B details particular things takes particular details from me. And then when Nurse C is around, Nurse C asks me a different bunch of questions. Nurse C does not take all of this information that Nurse B does. And sometimes when Nurse G comes around, sometimes she does some of what Nurse B does and does some of what Nurse C does. And I don't even know what to expect when I come to the hospital or to the clinic or to the facility or to the medical lab. That shows a lack of consistency. And so it's your patients, your clients are left to chance, to the chance of the whatever, of the state of mind, of the knowledge, of the experience or expertise, or the borrowed information or passed down information or imported information of anybody who is on duty or who they happen to interface with when they come into the facility, which does not help. Okay, so we have consistency in service delivery when ISO standards are implemented. You have cost savings. There's no repeats. There's minimum. There's reduced waste. That you save costs. There's a structured approach to QMS. Now, this is the relevance of ISO. This is why we brought in ISO standards into this conversation, because ISO standards provide a structured approach to QMS implementation, to creating that quality management system, so that you are not at a loss of, what do I do first? What do I do next? What am I supposed to do when it comes to customer service? What am I supposed to do when it comes to managing my equipment? What am I supposed to do when it comes to process improvement? What am I supposed to do when it comes to managing my my vendors and the people who I work with to achieve, who feed our organization so that we achieve what we want to achieve? You are not confused. It provides a structured approach to QMS implementation, and then it provides enhanced communication between the teams, across the teams, with your clients, etc. So now, why is measuring QMS effectiveness important? Measuring QMS important is a very important part of QMS implementation, because what you don't measure, you cannot. There's a saying that what you don't measure, you cannot improve. Okay, you have to measure it. That's the only way you can improve it. You measure so that you can ensure that your goals are met. You measure so that you can identify areas for improvement. You measure so that you can say that this is where we are. You can actually demonstrate a compliance with standards. All right, that's why you measure. And there are so many benefits. I'll only highlight 3 at this point. When you measure the effectiveness of the QMS that you've implemented in your organization, you achieve improved patient outcomes. You are able to increase your staff satisfaction, your team satisfaction. Your team members are happier, they are better, they are more satisfied. There is the there's a part of job fulfillment and satisfaction that comes with knowing that you are improving and you're doing great things within your system, within your team, within your organization as a whole. And that satisfaction can only come when there's data, when there's something that you have measured to show and say, this is where we are, this is where we used to be, this is where we are, this is where we are going next. And when you get to that time where you say you want to get to, you also have data to say, this is where we are coming from and this is where we are now. So you have that increased staff satisfaction. And there's some satisfaction that does not come just with monetary benefits or financial benefits or fiduciary benefits, but come with that satisfaction of saying, I am contributing to the world. I am making the world a better place. I am making healthcare a better healthcare service or healthcare delivery better in my community, in my context. And then it streamlines your operations. Everybody is not just running around the place. Everybody is streamlined to achieving particular things. So let's go quickly. What does QMS effectiveness look like? There's something called the MAIC, which is used in Lean, is used in Six Sigma, but I brought it in here because I feel it's a beautiful way to summarize what QMS effectiveness looks like, right? And QMS effectiveness, it is about, the MAIC is an acronym brought from what you have in these circles, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. You define what your goals are, what your QMS. So you analyze what your what you have measured. You analyze the results of your measurements, and then you work to improve. You see, what can we do to improve what we have done? Just want to make sure that we're still on. Okay. So you improve, you look for improvement opportunities, and then you control them. That is, once you found a way to improve what you have, that particular goal or that particular part of the QMS that you have worked on up to this point, you control it so that it doesn't move, it doesn't just shift out of you don't lose the improvement that you have gotten up to this point. So QMS effectiveness helps to consistently meet quality objectives. It adapts to changing needs. All right. So, and once the need changes, well, an effective QMS is able to adapt to it. An effective QMS supports patient or person-centered care, right? It brings everybody together into this care, into the care of your patient, and brings all the focus, everybody, all the resources, the persons involved, even the persons involved being focused and caring about them, caring about the team members involved, caring about the because the how well the team members are able to be cared for, or how well they are cared for, directly impacts or directly affects their delivery, to their service delivery to patients. Okay, so it goes beyond patient-centered care. We are talking now about person-centered care, but I kept it as patient-centered care in this slide, just so that we are all understanding that this is what we're talking about. We're moving into person-centered care. Now, let's talk about the foundational metrics for measuring QMS effectiveness. Like I said, this is beginners to intermediates. We're not going into deep dives into tools, etc. We're just going foundations. We're keeping it very simple. What are some examples? I want to share with us some of these metrics for measuring QMS effectiveness that can be applied across different healthcare contexts. You have turnaround times. Turnaround times is a pointer, an almost direct pointer into how effective your entire QMS is functioning, across the effectiveness of the entire QMS, because everything boils down to the outcome. When were you supposed to, how soon or when, within what time frame was a particular outcome supposed to be achieved, and when was it achieved? Okay, so how long was it? How long is triaging supposed to take? How long does it take? How long is an urgent requests for a bedside procedure or a point of care testing supposed to take? How long does it take? How long? Generally, the turnaround times. The turnaround time is talking about the time from when a process starts to when it is deemed completed with the outcome generated. All right. So how long what are the turnaround times? When you look at the turnaround times, everything, your QMS, every part of the quality management system directly or indirectly affects the turnaround time, impacts on the turnaround time. It's either going to impact on the turnaround time positively or negatively. The more efficient the quality management system, the more the shorter the turnaround times for processes would be, right? So examples of metrics, one big easy starter is a turnaround time. What's the turnaround time? Think about whatever process, what's the turnaround time for it? Then you have error rates. What are the error rates within our organization? What are the error rates for, let me go into medical labs, for laboratory within, let's say hematology department or hematology bench, or for this is a big one, for genotype testing or for blood group testing. What are the error rates? What are the error rates for misdiagnosis, right? What are our patient satisfaction scores? These are all things that point to the effectiveness of the quality management system that has been implemented. What are the compliance rates with hand hygiene protocols? How well do people comply? Do our team members comply with our own stated hand hygiene protocols, which have to be benchmarked? I mean, which have to be aligned with benchmarked protocols. I mean, you can't just create your own protocols when they're sitting far off from benchmarked procedures or standardized protocols. What are our equipment downtimes and what are our maintenance schedules? Like, how aligned are the maintenance's execution to the schedule? All right, so we say we're going to have 4 maintenances or 2 maintenances or 1 maintenance in the year. Was it done when and as due? Was it done to the extent that it was supposed to be done? Was it done at the time it was supposed to be done? Was it done by the people that were supposed to do it? Okay, so and how often did we have equipment downtime and why, right? So when you measure this, you have the effectiveness of your QMS would show in how much is your uptime versus your downtime of your equipment. If you have the more effective your quality management system, the higher your uptime, the lower your equipment downtime. You have bed occupancy rates and its impact on patient flow. Is also a measurand or a metric for measuring QMS effectiveness. The patient is discharged. How long does it take for them to leave? Or how often are people admitted? Are they admitted when they're supposed to be admitted? Is it a proven case of admission? Is it a necessity to be admitted? Or are some people admitted when they don't need to be admitted? Or vice versa? Are you unable to admit patients who need to be admitted because all the beds are occupied? And how are we able to discharge people? When are people deemed? Are we keeping people longer than necessary? All right, so bed occupancy rates, measuring what are our bed occupancy rates in the different departments if you are in a multidisciplinary or secondary tertiary organization or tertiary healthcare establishment. In the different units, what are the bed occupancy rates? Where are they low? Where is it low? Where is it high? How can we improve on it? Does it have anything to do with the epidemiology or prevailing healthcare trends of the people in the community, right? Then you have adherence to waste management protocols. all right, in line with the standards. When you measure and say how well are we adhering to the waste management protocols that have been outlined. So these are some foundation. You can take any of this. These are foundational metrics for measuring QMS effectiveness within healthcare systems or within healthcare settings. Now, one thing that we must understand or we must bear in mind, and which I believe almost everybody has heard before, but I felt that it is important to re-raise it here, is for you to be able to define, let me go back up a little bit, for you to be able to define, right, you have to know, you have to define it in line with SMART, this acronym SMART methodology. Your goal for a particular QMS or improvement drive must be specific. It must be measurable. It must be achievable. It must be relevant, and it must be time bound. Specifically time bound. Otherwise, when are you going to be able to measure? Remember earlier I mentioned an example of how you say, okay, we have a goal for the next 2 months or in 3 months' time or with specific dates. By March 2025, we're going to review efficiency in the next 3 months. If it's not time bound, you just keep it, say, oh, we want to increase our effort, we want to reduce our turnaround time for genotype testing, and it's just there, open-ended. We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know by what. Okay, then how are we going to measure it? It's going to be difficult to measure. So we have to define where we are going, what we want to achieve by using SMART objectives. The objectives have to be SMART, have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Let's run very quickly now. Now we're going to look at the tools themselves. I'm going to share with us 4 tools, okay, that help us to measure. Are we in the red? Are we in the yellow? Are we in the green? Are we going well? How do we know? How do we measure? Now, this is the meat of the matter. We've gotten to the center right now. Number 1, audits and checklists. So when we hear audits, the word audit means different things to different people. To financial people, it means something else. And generally, when people hear audits, their minds go different places. In QMS, audit has a very let me call it booky, a very academic definition. When you look at ISO terminologies from 9000, 2015, 9000, that's the standards for the terminology, the booklet for terminologies. And it says that an audit is a systematic, independent, and documented process, okay, for obtaining objective evidence and evaluating it objectively to determine the extent to which audit criteria are fulfilled. Yeah, it's very academic. Okay, let me just say it again. An audit, according to ISO terminology, the standard definition by ISO, is a systematic, independent, and documented process for obtaining evidence, for obtaining objective evidence and evaluating it objectively to determine the extent to which audit criteria are fulfilled. That is the academic and standard definition. So let's break it down into simple English. It is an independent, objective evaluation of how well an organization's system conforms to its own requirements, as well as to benchmarked quality standards. I have tried to make this simple English. So, how well an organization or a particular system, an organizational system, conforms to its own requirements, and then how well it conforms to benchmarked quality standards is audit. Okay, that's what, in simple terms, that's what an audit is. What's the purpose of an audit? An audit is to identify gaps in processes. An audit is to verify compliance with standards. So when you do audits, you are able to measure how effective the QMS is. When audits are done, either you have system audits, process audits, on the spot audits, you have planned audits, you have third-party audits, you have internal audits, whatever manner, type, shape, form of the audit. Once an audit is done, it helps to measure, it helps to say how well, to show how well are we performing, how well is our QMS performing, where are we coming from, where did we hope to be, and where are we now, right? Now, audit might sound like a big deal, because it is a big deal, actually, especially when it comes to third-party audits. But there are some steps that we can follow for doing audits. And you use simple checklists. Take a process, find out what you have outlined as your process for a particular procedure, and then create a checklist in line with the requirements of that procedure, in line with the outlined processes for executing that procedure, and then have that as checklist. Is XYZ being done? Yes. So from A to B, from A to carry out procedure, to carry out I'm thinking of a very simple example. So for example, to bring in a patient, to move a patient, when a patient comes to the nursing station, these are the steps. Number one, the patient is greeted, the patient is asked to sit down, the patient BP and vitals are checked, and for the vitals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are compulsory, 6, 7, 8 if the person is female, 9, 10 if the person is male, 11, 12 if the person is a child, and you have all of those, and you have it asked in the checklist. Is this being followed? Are all of this? So you list that out and you find out, are these being followed? Simple checklist. Then conduct periodic reviews. Okay, this is our process. This is what we've done for the past 1 month or 3 months or 6 months. Is it being effective? Have we, of course, with data, is it from our audits that we've done and our checks that we've done, are we satisfied with this? Is this meeting best practice or not? Then you now have to document your findings and say, this is where we have gotten to, this is what we have achieved. You're documenting your findings to say, this is what I have observed, this is what we have observed when we were checking the process 1 or procedure 1 or procedure 2 or process 3. You're checking all of this and you're documenting your findings, because what is not documented is not done. So you cannot say you've done an audit when you've not documented what you have found from the audit, right? So let's move on. I would want to show us an example of, for example, an audit checklist. So you have, this is in line with a healthcare standard for for facility, for healthcare facilities. You have international patient safety goals. So this under safety, and this is an except. So this is taken from a standard, an international accredited standard, and converting it into a checklist, okay, to audit the system. This is the standard. This is what is required for a healthcare organization when it comes to safety, patient safety. It has been written out what is required. Now, these are now converted into questions, that is into checklists. And then these checklists are now used to audit the system. Do you see? So you are checking how effective is our patient safety. Has the healthcare organization developed processes? Because the requirement is that processes are to be developed that improve the accuracy of patient identification. So the first question is, has the healthcare organization developed processes? If it's Done, you say, yes, C, it conforms, it meets the expectation. PC, if it partially conforms. NC, if that requirement is not met. Line by line, are the processes developed above implemented as documented? So you have to observe and see when patient identification is being done, is it being done as documented in the process that has been outlined? And you have another requirement for minimum identifiers, excluding, patient examination or procedure or room number in ambulatory care, for ambulatory care organizations. Okay, so all of these are are converted from the requirements into a checklist, and then you use this checklist to see how effective, how much of C's do we have, how much of PCs do we have, how much of NCs do we have, and then we focus on the NCs and the PCs and make sure that we convert them from NCs to PCs and PCs to Cs, right? And I'm talking about the acronyms that are outlined above: NC for non-conformance, C for conformance, and PC for partially conformed. Now, you have an easier one or a simpler one, which is called an SOP checklist. This one anybody can use. So basically, the audit checklist requires a bit more understanding of the audit of the conformity requirements, okay, and an interpretation of them as well. So most times you have that being used by professionals in the quality management space. But you have the SOP checklist, which can be used by anybody, by team leads, by managers, even by team members themselves. All right, so you're checking. This is what the procedure says. This is what our standard operating procedure says that we're supposed to use to, this is how we're supposed to execute a particular procedure, right? These are the processes to execute a particular procedure. Now, we take each of those processes and put them all together, put them out and say, are we doing as it said? So this is an excerpt from one of a checklist related to an SOP on hand hygiene, okay? And we have, which is related to safety. So we have surgical hand antisepsis. And then we find out, we ask, because the SOP requires that you should, before surgery, sorry, my mind went over a second there, before before a surgery, this is how the hand hygiene should work. And so it's been outlined in the SOP. Now we want to find out, are we doing it as it's supposed to be done? Number one, we're supposed to perform the surgical scrubbing before donning. It has said, perform this, remove all jewelry. Do not use nail brushes, use nail picks, apply it continues with the process. So we now convert this to a checklist and say, are we doing this? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, like that. And then anybody can check. So you can start and check off when once the surgery is about to happen, somebody who has the authority and who is responsible for this would stand and say, let's review and be sure that we are all doing it the way it's supposed to be done. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to as a tool for measuring is key performance indicators. Now, what are KPIs? KPIs are measurable values that indicate performance. They're things you can measure. If you cannot measure it specifically with numbers, it's not really a KPI, okay? So, for example, you have at the beginner level, okay, at the beginner level, at a point where you've not been measuring KPIs before, you want to start measuring KPIs. What kind of things can you measure? You can measure number of completed tests within expected time. That's the turnaround times I talked about before. Number of completed tests within the expected time, the percentage of incidents that have been resolved. So you have incidents that are being reported and you have the resolution on the go. You have a system for resolution. What's the percentage of incidents that are resolved within a particular time frame, especially? You have patient discharge times. You can also evaluate how long does it take, what for our patients to be discharged, to exit once they are discharged, because there's a protocol to the discharge. And I know that it can be very discomfiting for someone to be discharged and 4 hours after, 5 hours after, they're still sitting in the hospital. They don't even know why they're still there for the most time. Okay. And then you have adherence to safety protocols. You can also measure that. We do fire drills and we say how well our team members adhering to these safety protocols. We also have staff to patient ratios in emergency wards. We have outlined that we need this particular ratio benchmarked to best practices. And then we're now evaluating and measuring what exactly is our staff to patient ratio in this particular ward. Now, I'll share with us some intermediate examples. That is, these ones are a little more, they're a little more technical to evaluate. So you have, so you have them a little more technical using dashboards and all of those things. So it's a little more technical to do this particular set of measuring this set of KPIs, but you have an average length of patient stay. Most of these things you actually need some tools to you actually need a bit more advanced tools than just recording numbers and all of that. So you need a bit more advanced tools. You need they'll be more effective when you have an EMR or an EHR in place. You have percentage of preventive maintenance tasks completed on schedule. So we're looking at the tasks within the PM, within the preventive maintenance, the tasks within it, and the number of those tasks or the percentage of those tasks that are completed on schedule. You're looking at the percentage of patients screened for infection control measures. You're looking at variance in scheduled surgeries completed on time, and you have percentage of incidents resolved. So these are some KPIs that can be measured. And once you have these measured and you have this on ground, you're able to see where are we how well are we performing, how well is our quality management system, because many of these things are fed in from across the total quality management system. Now we have feedback collection. Feedback is pertinent. It matters because it captures insights from patients, it captures insights from staff. And let me, highlight something here. Let us not fall into this unfortunate situation where we only focus on insights from patients. We must be able to capture insights from team members and from staff, because they are also seeing. There's some things that the patients might not that there's some things that might not get to patients because it is caught by a team member, but the team members can know what the risks are. So if we're able to get feedback from team members as well, we're able to be more proactive in our improvement strategies, in our strategies as a whole, right? And in the execution of in the implementation of our quality management system. So we must not dwell so much on patients that we forget to capture insights from staff. All right. So let me pause here to say, if you have any questions, just keep them coming, and we'll respond to you via the chat. The chat is live and we are happy to respond to you via chat, and we're going to be responding as we go along. Members of the team will be responding to your questions via the chats as we go along. Feedback also matters because it helps us to identify areas for improvement. If you don't have feedback, you may as well think that everything is going nice and dandy. But with feedback, you know where there are areas for improvement, and then we are not limited to just what you are thinking about. You are able to integrate into your service delivery a wider array of opportunities, because people are coming from different places and they're saying, hey, why don't you think about doing this? Oh, hey, I saw this done here. Hey, I saw this on TV. All right. And so we are able to improve and serve our clientele much better. What are the methods for feedback collection? You have suggestion boxes. It works, especially if you actually encourage your clients and your team members to put in suggestions into the boxes. Okay? And suggestion boxes may not only be physical. You also have, let me call them e-suggestion boxes. Okay? So you're having people, take a link and give you feedback, just very quick things, and say, well, how better can we serve you? And they're giving you that on the go. You have short surveys. You have short surveys that you at a point just execute for everyone who is around, and intermittently just execute the short survey. Short surveys, keeping it short and simple and clear so that you have the most important data that you actually want to have. You also have informal interviews. You sit down, you have a client, you sit down, you just spend a minute. How are you doing? What's your experience? Is everything going? And it's not about picking. We have to be careful not to just take every single information or negative feedback or feedback for improvement and just use it against our team members. Okay, we must be strategic and wise to take the feedback and then investigate further, especially for informal interviews, because they're very subjective. So you take the information and then investigate further. After investigating further, then you find the opportunity for improvement. And do not discard, because in every statement, there's an element of truth. Do not discard. We do not discard any information that is gotten through feedback. We do not discard. There's an element of truth. If it is not proven now, it will be proven in the future. So here's a tip for you. Start with simple, focused questions. Simple, focused questions in your surveys. A simple, focused questions in your informal interview. Simple, focused questions. Do you like coming to our facility? How do you feel when you come to our facility? Rate our service. Simple, focused questions. Focused in what do you think of the amount of time you spend here? Do you think you spend too long a time here? Are we quick in our service to you? Do you get your procedures done quickly? Are your procedures done quickly? Simple, focused questions. Now, number 4, the last tool I'll be sharing on right now is basic data analysis. The purpose of this is to identify trends and patterns. The focus and the purpose of data analysis is to identify trends and identify patterns. Like I said, when you have feedback, you don't just take a single standalone feedback and run with it and take a sledgehammer. Okay, you investigate further. And then when you're pulling data as well, everything that we do in getting of our data, in doing the audit, we must analyze to identify trends and patterns, because when trends and patterns are evidently present, then you know that, okay, there is a need, that you can be strategic to your improvement initiative, to your corrective actions, to your preventive actions. When you have trends and patterns, when you see, okay, there's a trend or there's a pattern of turnaround time failure in June. What happens in June? Oh, there's a lot of people coming in because they are going for holidays, so they need to do a lot of wellness checks. That's a trend. So how do we improve our turnaround times in June? What do we need to do before June so that when people come in June, as that inflow, we've seen that trend happen. We've seen an upward spike in our patient numbers in June for the past 3 years. What can we do to make sure that our operational efficiency is optimized for June and our turnaround times do not decline rapidly, as we have seen in the past 3 years happen in June, that it doesn't happen again in June 2025. That is why we have to analyze data. All right. So step one, let's talk about how to do it. Track your metrics. You must track them. If you don't track them, you can't analyze them. You can't have all of them in one place to be able to analyze them. So put them in a spreadsheet, Google Sheets, Excel, a spreadsheet, and use the spreadsheet. Okay, track the key metrics in a spreadsheet. Use basic charts to visualize the data. There are all sorts of tools out there. There's all sorts of AI tools out there. Be careful with the data that you put up on the internet. But there are a lot of tools out there that you can use to visualize the data. There are lots of experts as well who are able to create or help to visualize, convert data into visuals that can be better interpreted or easier interpreted. Then regularly review findings with your team. Regularly review findings with your team. And I dare say here that it's a good thing to have a few team members who are interested, build their capacity in using tools, Power BI or other tools to visualize data, to convert the raw data into visual forms that can be, where trends can be easily identified and patterns can be easily identified and improvement initiatives can be better implemented. All right, so find these people, invest in them, get them to go and learn about how exactly to go about visualizing data, and then you'll be better off for it. It's an investment. Now, regularly review the findings with your team so that everybody's on the same page when we're talking about improving the effectiveness of the QMS as is implemented, or about implementing and sustaining the QMS. So let's talk about implementing and sustaining the basic QMS. Just a few slides and we're done. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. When I saw this, I was like, this is just it. Start where you are. There is always an opportunity for improvement. John Hopkins still has improvement initiatives. No matter where you are, there's always a place to go ahead to. So think big, but start small. Start where you are. All right? Use what you have and do what you can. Don't try to do, let's not get bogged down in trying to do it the way another organization is doing, and then it requires so much resources that we can't do anything at all. All kudos to Google for that image. Now let's share some tips to get going. Focus on one or two areas. Start small. Look at a few areas that you want to measure the effectiveness, or you want to implement QMS in, or that you want to use to implement QMS. So for example, you can say, I want to start off with patient feedback. I want to start off with reducing our error rates. You focus on these areas, and then you get going. You use your available resources to begin to measure, to begin to implement what needs to be done. You document the process, you implement it, and then you begin to measure how well are we doing what we're supposed to be doing. And then you act quickly. Don't waste time. Don't get bogged down with the how, with a big, large framework of, no, don't get bogged down. Just act quickly. Start with what you are. Start with what you have. Start with from where you are. Let me take that again. Start with what you have. Start from where you are. All right. Now, build a quality culture, because you can't do it alone. You listening to me, you can't do it alone. All right. A quality culture is a mindset where quality is everyone's responsibility. So build that quality culture with your team. Build it among your team members. Build it with your people. How do you go about this? Engage your team members. Engage them with training. Engage them with incentives. Train. Call on QBS Global. We'll train your team members. Okay. Train locally, train globally, train the smaller teams, train across the organization. Keep training, and then engage them also. Once you train them, you're engaging, you're making them feel more engaged. They feel like they're a part of the process. All right. Then also engage them with incentives. The incentives don't have to be, when we say incentives, don't think of, it mustn't be far reaching. Just think of incentives. Think of what would mean something to them. Give them an accolade. Send a company-wide email and celebrate a particular team or a particular team member, all right? And objectively, with data to show that this person has earned this commendation, right? Lead by example. All team leads here, please lead by example. Lead by example. Celebrate small wins. Build the culture by celebrating small wins. Don't say, oh, we still have a long way to go. We've only done 1 out of 20. Is this where we're supposed to be? We're supposed to have been at number 7 by this month too. And we're still on number 2. Oh, no. No. Celebrate small wins. Oh, we have done this. We have done amazing. We're going forward. We're moving forward. Celebrate small wins. Document. Take copious notes. All right. Take several notes. Take notes from audit. Take notes as you walk by as a team lead, as a team member. Take notes as somebody in quality management. Take notes. Take copious notes. Draw data from all available sources, and then review and analyze the data obtained. Okay. Use the results. Don't just document and dump them in a file somewhere, because that data that is dumped there would not achieve anything on its own. Those results have to be brought out, analyzed, and used for a continuous improvement initiative. We're almost at the end. So, a beginner's journey. Let me take us on a small case study. A small healthcare facility started off this journey by tracking turnaround times. So let's track our turnaround times. And then they defined a baseline metric. You say, where are we now? Where do we want to be as a basis? That metric was defined. After that metric was defined, they collected data for 3 months. What's our turnaround time for this process? What's our turnaround time for this process? What's our turnaround time for running our test in the lab? What are our turnaround times? What are our turnaround times in the lab? And then they collected data for 3 months. Then they implemented small process improvements along the way. Okay, we're going to change. We see that there's a lag with entry of results because of our numbering system, because of the way our EHR is set up. They made small improvements, just changing. Okay, would not use random numbers anymore. Would not use this kind of numbers. We'll use this kind of numbers so that it makes it faster for people to get logged into the system. Given that you have this collaboration between other departments and other teams as well, then you said, okay, they also said, okay, we're going to improve or change the way, improve on the way the tests are forwarded or the requests are made from the clinician's side. And then we're going to change, just small changes, process improvements just made along the way. The timing of the day that work is being done, who does what on AM, on the early morning shifts, who does what on the midday shift, who does what on the night shift, and turn things around so that by the time the request comes, the requests come in, they are able to be attended to quicker instead of them sitting or piling up on the bench, etc. And what happened? They were able to improve turnaround times by 20%. They reduced adverse events because the reporting systems were enhanced, and then the staff engagement increased. When people began to see that, oh wow, we're making progress, and we're watching their metrics month by month, and they're saying, oh wow, we're getting better. Staff engagement and staff commitments to the processes improved as well. Doesn't that sound like a good thing? It sounds like something that you want to be part of, right? Right. So start where you are. We need to go back. Start where you are. Use what you have and do what you can. All right. Now, a recap. We discussed some tools. We discussed 4 tools: audits and checklists. We discussed key performance indicators. We discussed feedback collection, and we discussed basic data analysis. These tools are foundational tools for measuring the effectiveness of the QMS implemented within your system. We also have, I also like to re-highlight some things I want us to take away from here today. Number 1, start small. Focus on one metric or tool to begin. Just start. Just start. Think about it. You right now, one is coming to mind. Start with that one. Use SMART objectives to set clear goals. Build a culture of quality. Engage your team members. Engage your colleagues. Say, hey, this thing, I think we should do it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be at the top. You don't have to be a team lead to be able to initiate an improvement drive. All right. Or to build a culture of quality. You don't have to. From where you are, you don't have to be a leader to do that. From where you are, with your self-leadership, with your personal leadership, just go ahead and do it, and you will soon be recognized. You will soon be recognized. Measure, analyze, and adapt continuously for improvement. So what are the next steps? Like I said, start. Measure one key metric today. Today. Measure. Start to measure one key metric. All right. So that by the time the year rolls by and the new year rolls in, you'd have already had at least 2 weeks of data. When in healthcare, we hardly have holidays, right? So you'll have had 2 weeks of data, right? You can also join our training courses on QMS implementation. We have one coming up late February, talking about leadership and implementing a QM ISO 15189-2022. Practical, very, very practical, full of discussions, very practical. I would share more about it as we go along on our social media pages, etc. So join our training courses on QMS implementation. We also have certification courses on QMS implementation. We have that as well. Subscribe to our newsletter, and then because we share freebies from time to time, so subscribe to our newsletter. Right in the chat right about now, you'll be seeing the link to subscribe for our newsletter. Subscribe to it to access free templates, audit checklists, KPI trackers, and all. So leave your comments in the questions. Feel free, please, to leave your comments in the question. Okay, to leave your questions in the comments, excuse me, or to reach out for support, for consulting support. We're here for you. We're here to help you thrive. We're here to help your organization thrive. We are here to help your organization deliver better outcomes for your patients. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. And with this, we're coming to the end of, well, we've come to the end of this webinar, and we're coming to the end of work, basically consulting work for the year. All right. You can send in your mails. You can, if there's a pain point, feel free to send in. We're having some skeletal services, but not, you might not have rapid response to your emails, but you would definitely get a response. As the French would say, au fur et à mesure. All right, as you go along in time, you would have your responses. Share with us your thoughts. Share with us your comments. Share with us your questions. Share what is the big highlights for you. What's the big insights for you during this webinar today and during these conversations today. Share with us your questions, and we'll respond. We'll respond even after this webinar is done now. We'll respond to your questions. All right. And do follow us on our social media handles and send us an email anytime, info.qbsglobal@gmail.com. All right. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Remember the reason for the season. Keep your eyes and your mind on the reason for the season, and come back, set your goals for the next year, set your plans for the next year, set your improvement initiatives for the next year, improvement plans for the next year, define them, and start. Let's just start and share with us your success stories. We really want to hear your success stories, and please make sure to reach out to us wherever you need us to step in and help, and we're here for you. All righty. Thank you so much for coming in. Have yourselves a wonderful holiday, and see you. We'll be back we're resuming back work officially from January the 6th, by God's grace. All right. So take care and keep doing wonderful things for the healthcare landscape. Thank you for coming. Bye.